Piloting one of MechWarrior Online's 70-ton mechs is nothing like your typical first-person shooter. From the cockpit of a walking tank, every step feels like a refreshing change of pace. Its heavy metal combat between two 12-man teams is spectacular, tactical, and fierce. But that pace runs hot and cold, and even if you're a returning MechWarrior fan from the old days, getting your mech legs back and learning to function as part of a team means taking a lot of punishment, and repeating the same two modes until you get it right. All of these mechs are gorgeous, and they have a real sense of weight to them. A big difference between MechWarrior Online and old-school MechWarrior is that MechWarrior Online is a free-to-play game. When you're buying parts for your mech, it becomes apparent that certain machines are locked behind a paywall. Though it isn't necessarily pay to win, the premium mechs do look cooler than the others, and they have XP and cash bonuses. It's commendable the developer Piranha allows us to build up competitive quality mechs without paying, if you save up enough in-game currency. Still, it's frustrating that some of the high-end mechs are only available through real money purchases, and the freemium content can be a bit in your face at times. MechWarrior Online's most controversial feature is its noob-friendly third-person camera mode, which allows you to peek around corners and see angles you can't from a cockpit. Even as a newer player, however, I usually find myself sticking with the first-person cockpit perspective, as the minimap is too valuable to lose, and honestly it just feels like the mode MechWarrior Online was meant to be played in. 12 vs 12 multiplayer combat is the sole focus of MechWarrior Online. It's smart in how it rewards cautious play, thoughtful weapon use, and advanced tactics like taking advantage of weather conditions to secure victory. Mechs feel cumbersome to control initially, and moving through tight spaces can be like trying to navigate a semi-truck through a parking structure. And while you're doing that, you have to pay close attention to the heat your weapons generate, or they'll overload and shut you down on the spot. There's a lot to think about here, and that's a good thing. But it's inconsistent. The tempo of matches swings between fast and furious and long and drawn out, and it can be dull when you and your team traipse around a vast map without an enemy in sight for long periods of time. When things finally do heat up, combat is incredibly intense as you scramble to keep yourself intact with hellfire raining down on you from every direction. And you can get knocked out quick, and since there's no respawning, that's pretty rough. And it stays rough for a while. Figuring out how to be a contributing member of a team takes a lot of work, especially when there's just a brief movement tutorial and a free roam mode as teaching tools. It's easy to get turned off by this before you have a chance to get to the meat of MechWarrior Online, as getting blown to pieces shortly after a match starts is pretty discouraging. Persevere though, and it will reward you. Off the battlefield, the process of buying and building up your own stable of mechs between fights is almost as much fun as combat itself. Your mech build is far more involved than the simple loadout you'll find in a typical shooter, and figuring out which weapon configuration works best with your mech and playstyle is where half the strategy comes in. Personally, I prefer the catapult-type launchers that siege enemies from afar, rather than the up-close brawlers whose combat style results in my destruction more often than not. MechWarrior Online is a fairly solid entry in the tank warfare genre, and a welcome alternative to Twitch reflex-based shooters. The strategic combat is well thought out and implemented, but its uneven pacing takes battles everywhere from impressive heavy metal slugfest highs to dull plodding lows. Once you get the hang of it all, the strategic combat, pre-game build strategies, and in-game adaptivity is fun, but don't expect to master it without serious commitment. For more on MechWarrior Online, keep it on IGN.